Today's episode of Strong Links is brought to you by Dan and Van, Sleaford and the surrounding area's #1 man with a van service. And now for today's show.
Hello and welcome to Strong Links, Lincolnshire's local podcast in association with your local Links magazine. My name's Rich and I'm here with my good friend Dan.
Hello. Are you alright?
Yeah, your voice is sounding a bit deeper.
I know, I'm ill. So we've got a little girl in our family who's not very well and she's shared her illness with me. So
that's the thing with kids, they do things like that, don't they?
They do. I've got a theory about this.
Yeah.
They get the viruses and all that to build up immunity, and then they pass it on to, people like me to kill us off.
Really?
I think it's a conspiracy.
Well, I mean, hopefully you'll live through this podcast.
Yeah, it's touch and go.
Yeah,
we'll see.
If you could do that, that would be appreciated.
All right, I'll do it just for you.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, right. Well, let's crack on, shall we?
Let's do it.
Do you want to hear who the special guest is this month?
Yeah, who we got on this month?
This month's special guest is a local author who's just released his first novel. And he's also a journalist and is something of an expert on space. And he's from right here in Sleaford. Welcome to the studio, Clive Simpson.
Good evening. Nice to be here.
Yeah, thanks for joining us here this evening, Clive. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm very well, thank you. Yeah, and enjoying a bit of the better summer weather that we seem to be getting at the moment.
Yeah, it's not been too bad.
Yeah.
So this is your debut novel, Flood Waters Down. It's a near-future thriller about climate collapse set in a flooded Lincolnshire. And it's also got inequality and AI shaping the survival. Can you tell us about your new book? What is it about and what inspired you to write it?
Well, as you mentioned, it's set mostly in the Lincolnshire Fens, which have been transformed by rising sea levels and storms due to climate change, really, and the effects of climate change what we're beginning to see around the edges. So I wanted to look at a scenario that perhaps could evolve in the relatively near future, and what the Fens would be like and what would happen if the sea did come in and flood. And as we know, they are very low lying in places and more or less at sea level. So there's a big potential for that. So what really inspired me to start looking at this was a long-standing interest in the environment and climate change, but also there was a storm surge down the east coast in 2013 in the winter. I think it was in December, and after that I was doing some reporting and went down to meet some local farmers there who were obviously concerned and looking at what they could do to shore up defences and things like that. And they put a plaque on the locks at Surfleet Seas End to show where the sea level had actually come up to on that particular night. And it was literally within about 1 foot of the top of the banks. And it set me thinking really about this the subsequent book, because I thought, well, what happens if the banks are topped one day and seawater does flood the area, and then maybe as an ongoing thing, what would life be like? Would people still be able to live here, and what would be the implications?
Because you see on road signs, don't you, that is it the emergency route?
Yes.
And is that to do with that, with the flooding?
I think it is, actually. I mean, as far as I remember, they were put up by the county council quite a few years ago now, and they've been around. And I think they are really to guide motorists away from areas that, if there is a potential flood, the quickest route to safety, as it were, and slightly higher ground.
Yeah.
It'll be a part of a risk assessment, I suppose, that the local authority would have carried out.
Having said that, I have seen some of them, and they seem to point in the wrong direction sometimes. I think,
that's reassuring.
But I was wanting to go that way.
But this is a very real threat, though, isn't it? I know you have a strong interest in climate change, don't you? And this is something to worry about, isn't it?
I think the whole climate issue is. I mean, we've seen ourselves over the last 10, 20 years how our winters have got milder. We're getting heavier downpours and more rain at certain times. And we've had some very hot summers, and that's just in the UK. We have had temperatures creeping up to 40 degrees, which, if that's consistent, becomes very difficult to live in. So we are seeing a fairly rapid change in terms of how the Earth normally deals with these sort of things, and it's mostly down to what we're putting as humans into the atmosphere through our activities. So yes, it does seem to be accelerating, and we read further afield about glaciers melting and melting into the sea and that sort of thing. So I think all the factors coming together, maybe forest fires that we witnessed in California and in Europe last year, which were quite devastating. There's a lot of different factors. I think one thing I've learnt in writing about it for the last few years is it doesn't come in any one place, in any one style. It sort of delivers different kind of things. So you might get flooding, you might get fires, you might get extremely hot periods. So there's all sorts of different scenarios, and they're not all going to happen in one place at one time.
You can see it ramping up year on year.
Yeah.
Year after year, our summers are getting hotter. Growing up, we were always, if there was a hot summer, we always referred to the summer of 76. But that's happening every year, it seems now.
Yeah, I think the last, the hottest summers of the last 10 years have occurred in the last 11 years.
Yeah.
So definitely, that's sort of worldwide. So definitely it is heating up.
Mm.
So you brought a copy of your book, your new book, Floodwaters Down, into the studio. So we've got it right here. In terms of the story, so this is set in the near future, isn't it? So how close is that, the vision in your book? Is it to reality? Did you need to exaggerate much to?
Well, I've sort of nominally set it. I've deliberately haven't put dates in it, but I've sort of in my head, I'm thinking it's about 20, 30 years into the future, so it's not that far. Could be a little bit longer. But who knows? It's really difficult to assess how quickly things are going to change and what the implications would be. So I'd sort of set it around about the 30 years into the future, which for most people alive today will be part of their future potentially.
I mean, obviously you're from Lincolnshire, and was that a big reason for you setting it in Lincolnshire? Is it because you know the area?
Yeah, I think I grew up in South Lincolnshire. I started work in South Lincolnshire. You either love it or hate it, and I think I love the big skies. The scenery isn't as fantastic always as my native Derbyshire, but I certainly spent the majority of my life here, and so there is something about the locality that I guess gets in your DNA after a while, and so I wanted to write about something that was real to me in terms of an area, and also wanted to put Lincolnshire on the map a bit because it often gets overlooked, and also it was good to, because Lincolnshire is going to be at the forefront of major changes in the climate, it all fitted together. So those three things really came together to form the sort of backstop of the book.
And you've got real Lincolnshire places in it. I think Surfleet is...
one of the main characters is sort of based around Surfleet Seas End, which is a confluence of the Welland, the River Glen and the Venats Drain before they go out to sea. So that's sort of quite a key point for drainage. But I wanted to whilst it is fiction, I wanted to try and base it in reality and make it real to people, so that using place names. So we go out to the Sir Peter Scott Lighthouse at Sutton Bridge. That's one of the headquarters of the Fen Renegades who are fighting. We've got Tulip Haven in it, which is the old Spalding power station, which has been converted into a luxury enclave for the super wealthy to live in and escape the effects of climate change. So I've built in scenarios like that. There's some various names and things that I've chosen to call people do have local connections as well.
Yeah. Do you think the book would make a good film?
I've actually written it with that in mind, so I would hope so. It's kind of the way how I've visualised it in my mind as I've been writing it, and my career has been as a journalist writer, so I've been very factually based in most of what I do. So learning to write work of fiction has been very different. So what I've tried to do is visualise how the characters would react and what the landscape is like. And I think, it would, hopefully I'll put enough in there that, somebody might find it attractive for a film.
Yeah. You're open to offers.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Have you got any particular actors in mind for the role?
I really haven't got that far, no.
Do you think fiction is better than journalism to get getting people to actually engage with the climate?
I think that's
crisis?
A really good point, because I have written quite a lot on climate and climate change and the effects of it as a journalist. And I've been finding in recent years that you get less and less traction in articles. I think because there is maybe an overload of information. We've got social media digging at it and all sorts of things now. So there's an element of probably too much factual information and people begin to switch off. So one of the ideas behind writing it as a novel was to sort of try and make it accessible to people, any of the scenarios that could happen, and make it a bit more realistic, so they could actually live in the real world, as it were, and see what might happen and visualise it. Yeah.
Could you tell us about the technological aspect of the story and how AI is involved with that?
Yeah, AI wasn't involved at the beginning, but it's really involved in the world now. Yeah. So I wanted to sort of include it.
Because I think you first had the idea 12 years ago or something. So
AI wasn't really around then, but as I sort of evolved the story and different elements of it, particularly creating the enclave where super wealthy could potentially escape the effects of climate change, I wanted to introduce elements of AI and one aspect of that is that it becomes the controller of the enclave. And so part of the story, without giving too much away, is how it gradually takes over its rule of that, and it's more concerned about its own development and survival than the people in the end. There are a few of the technological bits in as well, obviously with my background in space and interest in space technology. I've sprinkled it with scenarios, and one of the characters works for a satellite monitoring agency in London, and they're heavily involved in looking at some of the aspects of what are going on, both with the climate but also with AI as well, and environmental protection.
Right. How do you personally look on AI as a writer and journalist?
Well, I think it's a bit out of control, to be honest.
Yeah. Even at this stage, which is kind of early.
Even at this stage, it's quite scary, and I've seen it creeping in the last year or so, more and more into things. It does have its uses, undoubtedly, particularly if you're not using it to create work, but you're using it as an assistant in some way. I'm talking about in editorial or writing work, but I think one of the dangers is that it is going to creep into more and more things, and because it is relatively easy to use for people, it will become more and more involved in everyday life, and that's kind of one of the scary scenarios. And I think that's one of the things I try to put over in my book is you have got this scenario where AI is trying to take over, but you've also got people who really see the dangers of that and are trying to fight against it.
It's quite scary.
Well, I think it's just becoming the norm, isn't it? You see just ordinary people using it on social media. I see stuff cropping up, posters for events, and just think immediately it looks like produce of AI.
Somebody said to me the other day that you can tell what's AI.
Yeah.
And I thought, you can now, because it's like if you remember when computers first came in and computer games and but now they've developed so much.
It's massively.
There'll be a point where you just don't know it's AI.
This is the worst it's going to be. It doesn't. It's
Yeah.
not going to get worse from here. It's just going to get better. It's even more seamless. I think.
Yeah.
I think a colleague told me only yesterday, actually, he just read an article about somebody who'd been for a job interview, and he was actually interviewed by AI.
Really?
And,
It wasn't someone called Al.
he found that very scary, very disconcerting, apparently, which you would. But I think that illustrates what employers are beginning to do now is you use AI for certain tasks, and that's also a scary part because it takes away jobs as well.
Yeah.
I mean, there is another side to AI which is probably a positive side. I think you can look at it quite negatively, but there probably is a positive side to AI. Like I'll say there is, but it's human nature. You just we always get it wrong in the end, such as the climate stuff. Climate change, and that's all human as a result of the Industrial Revolution it started then, and it's continuing to stay.
Yeah, a book I edited last year called The Sentient Ones was actually about AI becoming sentient, and humanity then used it to solve a lot of the problems. So it sorted out climate change, it sorted out hunger and all the rest of it, but then it gradually started to take over, and it got very nasty.
Yeah.
So it had its advantages, but then it had very big disadvantages.
Yeah. It's like chocolate cake. It's nice at the beginning.
You know about that, don't you?
I do, yeah.
So, I mean, what is then the good news, less about AI and just maybe more in terms of the climate change and what positive steps we're doing to
we need to
tackle it.
Make it more cheery. It's a bit,
Well, I think the good thing is we can do things about it. In the space business, there's an awful lot of effort being put into not only monitoring temperatures, weather systems, that sort of thing, which is how we're getting a lot of this information now, but also into helping to provide solutions as well. And there are some far-reaching solutions being looked at now in terms of putting. I mean, we know about solar panels on Earth, and they're put in fields around us and this sort of thing to generate energy. But there are serious, not only studies but very practical things being looked at now to put effectively solar panels into high Earth orbits and in between the Moon and the Earth, and then generate power back down to Earth.
Wow.
So that's a pretty advanced and scary kind of scenario, but that is could be a lot of free power in that kind of thing. So space is playing that kind of role.
How you'd need a long cable? How?
It wouldn't be done by a cable. It would be like,
sort of
like
shipped
beams,
in.
yeah. So it'd be electrical power, which is and then converted as it comes back down to Earth.
I've never even thought of that as an option, but it's wow.
Clever, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, let's move on to the space angle, because you brought in the magazine that you also published, Room magazine. So this is all about about space, basically, isn't it? This is your day job, is it?
Yeah, it's basically my day job. I've always been interested in space, and obviously we're talking about it at a fairly topical time with the recent Artemis II mission to the moon.
It's very exciting.
But I can actually go back to the Apollo missions, and they, as a young child, they were my inspiration, really. To have an interest in space, I would, avidly watch them as much as I could. It was wall-to-wall coverage in those days, and I think they kind of inspired me, as a lot of people my sort of age who I've met in the space industry, they did.
I remember the sort of Challenger, or those shuttles,
The space shuttle,
shuttle era, and it was very exciting then.
Yeah.
I think they long stopped the visits to the moon by that stage, but
they stopped in 1972, and then the shuttle came along in the early 1980s.
What was the point of the space shuttle missions?
Well, really, it was an access to low Earth orbit, and of course we have the International Space Station in low Earth orbit.
Okay.
So that was built up over a number of years, and it's been going now for a long time. Has been permanently manned. So a lot of experimentation, a lot of medical work takes place on the space station, it's really been a great thing. And of course, the shuttle was designed basically as a space truck to go backwards and forwards, but it did in the end prove very expensive as a means of launching astronauts. So that's why it was shelved eventually, and it came to the end of its life. But fantastic machine, and I was lucky enough to see several launches from Cape Canaveral as part of my reporting job, and pretty fantastic, I would say. Yeah.
Gosh, did that all finish as a result of the Challenger disaster?
No, after Challenger there was a hiatus with things being postponed for a while they tried to sort out all the problems, but then the shuttle came back and flew very successfully then for several years.
Oh, right.
I've been fortunate enough to interview some of the astronauts that went aboard the space shuttle and flown into space as part of my previous work with other magazines. So yeah.
So your magazine room. So I've got to say, it's a really smart looking
Thank you.
magazine, and looks fascinating. This goes out to...
I would say the global space community, if you like, people who work in the business, and that can be anybody from sort of graduates and students right up to business leaders and leaders of people in space agencies and that sort of thing. So it's quite across the board, really.
Yeah.
But one of the things we do like to encourage in it is people who are starting out either with startup businesses or just graduating, to write, and we give them a platform to write in it as well.
So do you do a lot of interviewing yourself of space people?
I have done in the past, probably a bit less so now, but I still do a few key interviews for the magazine.
Obviously, with you must have been following the Artemis II mission pretty avidly. I think the plan is it like in a couple of years' time that we're going to go back to the moon's surface? Is that?
Yeah, that's pretty much. There's one more Artemis mission in the meantime, and that's going to be just into Earth orbit. And what they're going to do there is practice the docking and undocking manoeuvres that they will need when they get to the moon. And then hopefully in 2028, which is only a couple of years away, there'll be the first crewed landing mission for Artemis. So in space terms and in NASA terms, that's really quite close now.
Yeah.
And would be very, very spectacular, I'm sure.
Yeah.
It's going to be amazing to go back with some modern cameras and, capturing.
Yeah, I mean, we've already seen some of the high quality pictures that have come from the recent Artemis mission, and some of the photographs are absolutely stunning. And I think there'll be more to come out as they get processed and released in the coming weeks and months. But to go back with the kind of technology that we have now, I mean, we always sort of say in the space industry that the technology you've got in your mobile phone now is better than the technology that they had, similar technology they had on the Apollo space missions in terms of electronics.
So why has it been so long since we were, was it 1972?
The last lunar landing was in 72, so yeah, it has been more than 50 years. Why has it been so long? Politics. There was a bit of a space race at the time which garnered
Russia
the speed, and so I think there was obviously a concentration on things in low Earth orbit with the space station and that sort of thing, and doing more experimentation and people learning how to live in space, and so now the moon has a lot of resources that could be very useful back on Earth, so that's why it's a prime target now.
Right.
So we're going to be mining.
Possibly mining the moon, and building small bases on the moon.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's doesn't have the same gravity that we have on Earth, so it's not constrained in the same way.
I feel as though when we go to the moon, I think we'll have a permanent presence there.
Yeah,
time round.
the idea is to set up an orbiting laboratory first, a base that will orbit the moon, and then they will service missions landing on the moon,
Right.
and then eventually to have actually permanent bases on the moon. But as well as the Americans and its international partners like Europe, the Chinese are very keen to get onto the moon as well. And
I was going to ask you about that. How close are the Chinese?
It's difficult to know how close they are because they keep their cards close to their chest, as we all know. But I don't think they'll be far behind, to be honest. They would probably like to be there first, but 2 years is a tight time frame now.
True, yeah.
And so they'd have to really get a move on.
How would territories be drawn up if that happens?
That is a huge issue at the moment in the sort of the politics of space, if you like, and the legalities. And there are certain laws and conventions in place, but a lot of those were set up in the late 60s, and so are very much out of date now. So some people are saying it's going to be a bit of a Wild West, free-for-all.
Yeah.
A lot of space lawyers and people in the sort of legal field who are trying to put agreements together and to get sort of international agreements as to what, how things can be worked out amicably. Very, very difficult because, to get Americans, Chinese and Russians and everybody together to agree things. We know what it's like in today's geopolitical world, but trying to get them to sort of sort agreements out like that is very difficult, especially when a lot of them see there's money at stake in terms of the resources that they can get from space.
We named a star for my son's school, or I gave it as a gift to my son's school.
Oh, right, yeah.
So as long as they don't touch that star, they can do what they want.
Probably too far away.
Yeah.
I was at a show just at the Terry O'Toole Theatre in North Hykeham, done by Ian Hall. He must know. He's an astrophysicist. He made an interesting point. I'm sure this is what he said, that we're perhaps living at the same time as the first people that will go on Mars. Do you think that is true? Do you think?
Yeah, they'll probably be very young now if they're going to go onto Mars, but infants. I think there are an awful lot of difficulties to overcome to get people to go to Mars. Not only the time frames involved, it takes between 7 and 9 months just to get there. So you've got all the issues that might happen, with astronauts or people on that sort of journey. One of the other things that's a huge concern if you journey to Mars is on Earth and in low Earth orbit, we're relatively protected from solar radiation and stellar radiation. Once you start going out towards Mars, that becomes a huge issue. And how do you protect astronauts from basically from radiation and from becoming sick in that way. So that's not really been sorted out yet, and it is a big issue.
Right.
And one of the things that is regularly studied on the space station is how do you keep astronauts healthy when they're in space for long periods of time. And most astronauts on the space station go up for about 6 months. But it's very nice being in weightless conditions apparently once you get there. But the body deteriorates, the muscles deteriorate after even a couple of weeks. So once you're in space and working in orbit like that, you're probably doing between 2 and 3 hours of intense exercise on specially developed machines, resistance machines and that, just to sort of tread water with your body really. So if you translate that into a mission to Mars with more people and longer times, you've got those kind of issues to face as well as normal medical, perhaps emergencies or routine things. And just going back to my book, that's one of the issues that becomes apparent in the enclave, the Tulip Haven enclave, because it is essentially a sealed unit and people sign over their lives to go and live there. But what happens when medical emergencies come around? And I'm not going to spoil the story by telling you, but it is an issue, yeah.
I've never thought about that, the weightlessness in space, and obviously you keep your muscles going with resistance, whether you're walking or which we kind of take for granted, but I suppose in space you haven't got that, have you? So you've got to...
You have to manage it artificially and really keep them sort of going.
Yeah.
It's okay when you've only got 6 or 7 astronauts on a space station, but if you're multiplying that with lots of people going to Mars, it's not such an easy scenario.
No.
How far is Mars from Earth in relation to, say, the Moon?
Well, it's a lot further away. So the Moon, we can travel to the Moon in about 3 days.
Yeah.
So I think it's useful because once you start saying Mars, it becomes meaningless. So if you say it takes about 3 days to travel to the Moon, on a good scenario, when Mars is close to Earth, you can get there on a normal sort of proportion in about 7 months at the same kind of speed. So
really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's a major undertaking.
Yeah.
Not only that, you need all the fuel and food and supplies. It's all got to be self-contained.
And ideally fuel to get back as well.
Yes, if it's not going to be a one-way mission. Maybe some people would like to send on a one-way mission.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A few politicians. Wow. I didn't realise that.
Yeah.
It's
so
significantly
the
further,
times
isn't it?
are going to be very hefty.
Does going to the Moon or even Mars, does that appeal to you at all?
It might have done at one time, but maybe not anymore.
Yeah.
I've heard there's no atmosphere.
Yeah. I think it would be fantastic, and we just hear what the astronauts who've just come back have said. That it's just been the most amazing experience to travel around the backside of the Moon, to see it in its reality, to see things like the solar eclipse there, and then to look back at a tiny Earth just popping up over the Moon's horizon. So that's a pretty fantastic thing to witness, I imagine.
Yeah.
When they went round the dark side of the Moon, there was a communications blackout, or whatever the term is. What is that? Purely because the sound waves can't get to...
Yeah, it's purely because the Moon's in the way.
Right.
Ultimately what will happen when we have maybe orbiting bases there, they'll put some satellites up like we've got around Earth, so you can bounce signals round and avoid that kind of blackout.
Yeah.
But at the moment, obviously, there's nothing else there, so once they get in the shadow of the Moon, as it were, you can't get radio signals through it.
Yeah.
That must be pretty scary to be absolutely cut off from the whole planet and humanity.
you are
especially
on
at
your
that
own, aren't you?
distance as well.
Yeah.
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 Isn't that what happened to the Apollo 13 mission as well? Didn't they have to go round the dark side of the moon?
Yeah, all the Apollo missions
They
did
all
orbit
did.
the moon.
Oh, right.
But the thing with Artemis II that's just been there is that it was much further away.
Right.
So it had a bigger. The Apollo missions were much closer. So, yeah, they all went around the moon. Apollo 13 had a tank explosion while it was out at the moon. So that was the big problem with that one.
Right.
So they had a crippled spacecraft basically, and they had to coax it back
Wow.
to Earth.
And they all got back okay.
They got back okay, but they were literally in survival mode for 3 days.
Wow. Scary.
Yeah.
Spoiled the end of the film, haven't we? But, sorry about that.
It was a good film, wasn't
Yeah.
it? Apollo 13.
Yeah.
Didn't they filmed it in that plane that...
Oh, yeah. Does the freeform.
Parabolic flight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you ever
Yeah.
done that?
No, I haven't actually, no.
Would you like to do that?
Yeah, if the chance came up, yeah.
Yeah.
You get a few seconds of weightlessness
Yeah.
as it comes down on the arc. And the nickname for it in the industry is the vomit comet.
Yes, yeah.
As you probably know.
Didn't Stephen Hawkins do that?
Yes, he did actually.
He did, didn't he?
Yeah, before he died, yeah.
Yeah, I was watching... There was I don't know, you probably saw it. There's it was on Channel 4 recently. This YouTuber, I can't think of his name. He's into trains. He's like a train spotter.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, he was on the vomit comet, and he was really enjoying it at first. And it filmed him. He'd had this really big breakfast, and
Oh, no.
you can tell where it's going to go. I couldn't watch it actually.
Is he the guy that has the camera there and he chases
Yeah.
after I'm here chasing the, like...
Yeah, that's
and
the
he's,
one.
hello!
Sounds like that breakfast was a big mistake.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
I think he regretted it. Yeah.
I couldn't do that.
No, I don't know how. Was it? It was Tom Hanks, wasn't it? And was it
Yeah.
Kevin Bacon?
Kevin Bacon.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, they did a lot of filming that way, of course. Obviously now with different techniques, they probably wouldn't need to do that.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. With our big skies, do you find Lincolnshire a great place to stargaze?
Yeah, actually, it is a good place, and the skies are quite dark on the whole compared to a lot of city environments and
light pollution.
Yeah, where there's a lot of light pollution. There's a bit around now. You get a lot of buildings illuminated with lights pointing across and upwards rather than downwards. But on the whole, the skies are really good in Lincolnshire, especially if you get out into the countryside, and you get some stunning views still. So yeah, big skies in the day and beautiful big skies at night. Really, really nice.
Yeah, I go out in the summer. I go out when the lights go off. You know, when it's dark and the lights go off in the street lamps and all that. I go out in the garden and look at the stars.
Yeah.
And it's some nights it's so clear.
Yeah.
You're very lucky.
In some city environments, you can only see a few stars if you're lucky.
Yeah.
At night, whereas here, you know, on a good night, we can see the Milky Way and all sorts of things.
Yeah.
And really, and watch a few satellites go over as well.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
I remember they said that you could see Mars in the at night, you know, if you look carefully. And I remember speaking to my dad. I called him up and said, "Dad, right, look out, and you'll see. Look, can you see that star?" And I pointed him to it, and I said, "Look, you can see it moving." And then he said, "Dan, that's an aeroplane."
But yeah, seeing the planets is good. It's cool, you know. And different ones appear at different times of the year, different brightnesses. But certainly Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, and Venus are all really visible to the naked
really?
eye. Yeah, you can see them at different times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And as you say, you see satellites as well, don't you?
Yeah, you can see. I was actually looking at the stars the other night, and I think I saw about 4 or 5 satellites in the space of about 10 minutes.
Oh, really?
Just very faint points of light going over.
Yeah.
But one good thing to see is the International Space Station when that goes over, because that is very bright, brighter than any star.
Oh, really?
so you can't miss it. And every now and again it comes over this way.
Yeah.
And you can get an app on your phone to predict when it's going to come over.
Oh,
so you
right.
can go out and look at it, which is
Wow.
quite cool.
Just with the naked eye or
Yeah,
binoculars?
yeah, don't need anything. It is really bright.
Oh,
And you can
right.
often see it fluctuating very slightly as the solar panels catch different
Yeah.
lights and it's turning round. So it's...
Wow.
and when we see it, and particularly if the grandchildren are around, we always give them a wave.
Right, yeah. Yeah.
The astronauts as they're going over.
Yeah. Actually, I used to live in Africa as a child, and we used to get a lot of shooting stars,
Yeah.
which we don't tend to see so much here.
Probably because it's dark skies there, you perhaps notice them more.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But yeah, you get them again if you're looking for half an hour on a good night, you might see one.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
So they're quite common.
Yeah, they're quite common.
Oh, right.
Yeah, bits of rock coming into the atmosphere and lighting up.
Yeah. Wow. Do we get anything significant, like any large bits of rock coming in?
Yeah, you sometimes get larger bits, and they are substantial shooting stars then, and very occasionally bits of those can come down to Earth. They burn up and break up, but
Yeah.
you get small fragments coming down to Earth. But so they tend to leave a sort of fading trail as they go across the sky.
Wow.
So you have to be lucky to see one of those.
Yeah.
But they're very random, so it can happen at any time.
Yeah. Very good.
I saw one once. I was driving to Newark and I saw this massive flash in the sky. Looked like a sort of meteorite. And I'm looking at it thinking, this has got to be on the news or something. And there was absolutely nothing. No one mentions it
Really?
on Facebook or anything like that.
You might have been the only person to see
see
it.
it.
Maybe,
Yes, to
maybe I
witness
was.
Because
Yeah.
if you're not looking up at that point, at that time...
Yeah.
Some of them get recorded on car dash cams now, even on doorbells. The doorbells that people have with cameras on.
Really?
They have been known to record them.
Wasn't the one in Russia a few years back?
There
then?
was a very bright one.
Yeah, I remember
a very
that.
big one. Yeah, and that came down and did a little bit of damage as well, and shattered a lot of windows. And,
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
right.
and things. Yeah.
What are they? What rock is it?
Do
you know-
Yeah, there's lots of
Are they dangerous?
debris in
or...
the space environment, out between Mars and that kind of orbit. And they're just bits of rock that peel off, and they're hitting the moon all the time. But because of our atmosphere, they get burnt up.
Yeah.
So astronauts are seeing them on the dark side of the moon, where very recent craters have been formed by meteorites hitting the moon.
Wow.
And they were a lot brighter than the normal ones, where they fade over time. But yeah, our atmosphere is very protective.
Yeah.
So we tend not
Quite lucky.
to get too many coming down.
Yeah.
Occasionally very big ones do come and
Yeah.
cause a bit more damage.
Yeah.
Right, so going back to Lincolnshire, let's look the other way now. Let's look down on the ground. This is something we ask all our guests. What are your favourite places in this county to go to?
Ooh, I like being out in the wilds and the countryside. So when I was a reporter, I used to drive out a lot on the marshes and around and just look at things. I think it's just a wild, beautiful kind of almost elemental part of the world. Really, it's almost unique. But in terms of places, I like going out to the coast actually and walking along the coast. And again, that's wild and unsport in a lot of places. And I think we always moan about it being flat and not much scenery, but sometimes on a nice summer's day, a fen road can be a nice place to walk. You hear the birds, you hear silence, and it's pretty nice. Yeah.
Yeah, and the walk along the River Slee, you mentioned that because we interview you in your local Links magazine, so, and you mentioned that as well, didn't you?
Yeah. Yeah, I love the
seeing
walk along the River Slee from
Yeah.
basically from the hub or from navigation yard up to, and now they've extended it further along the footpath past Cogglesford Mill. And I do that a lot of different times of the year, and it's really interesting to see how it changes. A few weeks ago there was nothing, no leaves, and I think now all the leaves are coming on the trees and a bit of blossom and birds, and you've got a few ducklings and things like that, and it's a great little environment. It's so close to the centre of Sleaford, and but you do feel as though you're out in the countryside. You've got some nice trees, and it's just relaxing and a mindful experience, if you like.
It's a nice walk along the Slee.
Yeah.
And the swans.
So
the swans still there?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think we're very lucky to have a walk like that in Sleaford. It's so close to the town centre.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, Clive, we could talk all evening about about Lincolnshire and the space and everything.
How would people find you if they want to find out more about you and
your book?
Where can
well, I've got a website which is clivesimpson.co.uk, and you can find various links on that. My book is actually being sold locally by the Travelling Bookshop, which is run by a lady called Kaylee Panton, and she's on Sleaford Market every Friday. And so locally we don't have another bookshop, but she's doing a really good job with the Travelling Bookshop there, so it's
Brilliant.
Available there, or dare I say you can get it online as well.
And the magazine is called Room
Space Journal, yeah. And it's got a website, room.eu.com, for anybody who's interested in having a look at that.
People can subscribe to it, can't
you? Can subscribe to it. A lot of articles on the website are free to read, and we also have a news section as well, which I curate mostly, and they're all free to read as well.
That's brilliant. Yeah, thanks so much, Clive.
Yeah,
it's been an absolute pleasure.
Really interesting.
Yeah, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, Dan, you made it through the episode. Well done.
I know. I didn't think I'd survive that, but yeah, no, it was all right. It was good.
Yeah. Do you need to get home to bed now? Or?
I do. Do you know what? I need some night nurse and bed. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's enough for my illness. Anyway, I'll survive. That was really interesting.
That was fascinating.
Yeah, Clive's very interesting, and we said after that we just touched the surface. It's such a big subject on it. Space. Well, I'm talking about space and writing.
I've heard that space is quite big.
Yeah. Can't wait to read his book.
Yeah.
It looks really good. The cover on that book's really, really good.
You can get lost in this image, can't you?
Yeah. They say you shouldn't judge a book by its cover, but...
You do, though.
You do. Yeah. That's... If you're in Waterstones or you're looking online at, you want to buy a book as a gift or something, you go for the one with the best cover. And I think Clive's is really, really good. I'm going to have a read of the magazine as well. I think that magazine looks really, really cool.
You take the magazine, I'll take the book, and then...
We'll swap
later.
Yeah, okay. Brilliant. Yeah. Well, anyway, that's another show. Brilliant.
Yeah, we made it.
Yeah. And, I'll go and get some night nurse.
And do make sure to check out Clive's interview in the magazine as well, in the May Your Local Links. He talks to us in there. Right, well, I'll see you next time, Dan, if you're still alive.
Okay, so, this could be for the last time, but no, until next time, goodbye.
Cheerio.
Today's episode of Strong Links was brought to you by Danson Property Services, where quality work meets local care. From reliable maintenance jobs to property refurbs, call Danson Property Services today. See you next time.